Tonight, Congress's $1.3 trillion mystery bill, faith-based healthcare plans.
I don't pretend it's not a risk.
And New Zealand's rodent killing spree.
Do possums belong in New Zealand?
Another day, another massive spending bill that will alter parts of American life, passed without any time for anyone to process it or read it. This afternoon, the president signed the 2,000-page, $1.3 trillion spending bill that Congress rushed to his desk to avert a government shutdown. A process that seemed crazy and irresponsible, even to President Trump.
But I say to Congress, I will never sign another bill like this again. I'm not going to do it again. Nobody read it. It's only hours old.
This is how spending is done in Washington now. Writing bills quickly and passing them before anyone has a chance to blink is now as American as, well, baseball. Surely our national pastime would be safe from such silly things as giant spending bills passed in the dead of night so the government doesn't shut down. Right? Let me introduce you to Aaron Senni. Aaron used to play baseball, first base and outfield, in the minor leagues. Here's what he made: $1,100 a month during the season, around $7,000 a year, to be a professional baseball player. That's the starting salary for a minor leaguer, and it's less than the minimum wage. Right now, there are thousands of prospects in spring training. That they don't get paid for at all, which seems unfair to players like Aaron.
You know, you get that first paycheck, and we all kind of look at it and then look around, and it's like, is yours the same as mine? Is mine wrong? And when you realize what it is, it's just, it's kind of eye-opening. You know, it's laughable at first, but I promise by the time you get that second and third paycheck, nobody's laughing anymore.
So he sued Major League Baseball. They own the minor leagues. In 2014, he claimed exploitation under the Fair Labor Standards Act.
You get there and you realize it's a very select few at the top that made it, that reap all the benefits, and all the minor league players are living a different lifestyle, not one that's sustainable by any means. My mom definitely picked up my off-season living, my any insurance, my phone bills, and it's kind of sad and embarrassing.
Aaron was eventually joined by 2,200 other players, and the suit became a class action. The suit's been slowly working its way through the courts, while Major League Baseball has been trying to head it off. And when the MLB heard there was a big, complicated, must-pass bill being written in Congress in a way that won't get a lot of public scrutiny, they used their power in D.C. to get what they wanted, in a law that no one read and was passed too quickly for anyone to really debate. On page 1,967 of the Omnibus Spending Bill is a section that effectively squashes Senni's lawsuit. Basically, baseball wanted federal law to say minor league players are exempt from minimum wage laws. MLB spent almost $1 million lobbying on many topics in the last 2 years, and this exemption was one of them. They're happy with the result. We asked about the omnibus, and MLB told us this: the legislation merely codifies the status quo that minor league baseball players can be treated as salaried employees, as they have been treated during the entire history of minor league baseball. Aaron was not happy.
I still can't believe how something like that can occur in 2018 in our country, and that it's fine, that it's okay, and that's what it's going to be.
This is a big bill, and there are a lot of things like the baseball deal tucked inside it. Now, we all get to find out what they are.
8 years ago today, President Obama signed the Affordable Care Act into law. Since the opening of the healthcare exchange, the rate of uninsured working-age adults has fallen more than 35%. But insuring people who live in Alaska has been a tough proposition. One reason? There just aren't a lot of Alaskans. And that makes it harder to create a balance on the exchange system between sick, expensive people and healthy, cheap people. The costs have sidelined some families from traditional insurance and pushed them to find new ways of sharing their burden with each other.
There you go.
Laura and Clay Butcher wanted to open their own public relations business and believed the Affordable Care Act was the chance they were waiting for.
Angela, look at the camera when you do it and ignore me.
We might have to cut these ones out, guys, that show the age.
But the butchers call themselves the asterisks on Alaska's health insurance exchange. They make too much money to get any financial subsidies, but not enough to afford their premiums. Their cheapest option would cost them $30,000 each year, and that's before the deductible, which would be nearly $15,000. The butchers believe they've been priced out of the ACA. Part of their job now is to handle the communications for nonprofits that want Alaskans to join the health insurance exchange. And that irony isn't lost on the Butcher family.
Did it just make you crazy to be, on the one hand, from 9 to 5, you're pushing for the ACA, and then at 5:01, you're just a mom with 2 kids and a husband, and you're trying to make this work, and you can't use it?
Yeah, it's insane irony. And it's really hard because but then I think, if I'm the asterisk, if my family's the asterisk that says this system isn't working for you right now, I'm grateful that I have the means. If my daughter got really sick tonight, at least for the interim, I could afford to get her to a doctor.
The Butchers chose the insurance alternative Liberty Health Share, one of a handful of Christian ministries serving an estimated 10,000 Alaskans. Families pay a preset amount to Liberty each month called a share. Liberty takes $24 each month for operating expenses, then spreads the rest out among members who ask for help with their bills. If enrollees' medical bills exceed the total monthly amount collected by Liberty, the company asks its members to contribute more.
Each month for a family of 4, I pay $441. And so this tells me that $62 went to that member, $32 went to Aviva, $321 went to Randall. Our deductible, they don't call it a deductible, but what we would consider a deductible is $1,500 for our whole family.
Membership in HealthShare Ministries went from about 100,000 before the passage of the ACA to more than 1 million today across all 50 states.
All right, guys, are we ready to go?
Most are part of the ACA and allow families to avoid the penalty for not having insurance.
Come on, Fritz.
That penalty is set to expire in 2019. But most require enrollees to live by the ministry's interpretation of the Bible. Some demand an adherence to their moral principles, like not doing drugs, drinking in moderation, and abstaining from sex outside of marriage. Liberty HealthShare has guidelines of what it will cover and rules about what it won't. No money for abortion or birth control, no coverage for pre-existing conditions in the first year, and $1 million reimbursement cap for each incident. The Butchers send their kids to Catholic Sunday school, but the family isn't particularly religious. They felt comfortable agreeing to Liberty's shared values to help pay their medical bills.
Until you and I rise up as consumers and insist on regaining control over the care of our health, no meaningful change will take place.
Last month, Dale Bellis spoke at the Conservative Political Action Conference. He also runs Liberty HealthShare, the platinum sponsor of this year's conference.
So is this about religion or is this about politics?
Oh, it is definitely about our shared beliefs and values. It's not about politics. Our emphasis is on personal freedom and accountability and participation in our community.
From the outside, Liberty looks like any Midwestern insurance office. But Bellis is careful to say it's not. Liberty doesn't have to play by the same rules as insurance companies because there's no pool of money backing them up. The company lives and dies by its members' shares.
We are not an alternative to insurance because we're not insurance and don't wish to be. We are an alternative means for meeting healthcare costs.
In 30 states, HealthShare Ministries are exempt from health insurance rules.
So it's wrong to have it legally mandated that we cover everyone. And instead, if I understand you correctly, we should be relying on the goodwill of humanity?
I really prefer that. And the goodwill of humanity wins out time and time and time again, as opposed to the onerous requirements of government intrusion in our lives that doesn't take into account all the variables for the who and what we are.
And members shouldn't be worried that if they post a picture on social media from a place that may be not quite church-like, they're not going to face any repercussions.
We are asking for folks to participate with us based upon our shared beliefs and values, and we're not lifestyle police.
So that's a no?
That would be a no. To my knowledge, we don't troll our members Facebook pages.
The director of Alaska's Division of Insurance is worried people in her state are buying into a program with risks they don't understand. In a statement to Vice News, Lori Wing Heyer said removing healthy people from the market puts the whole exchange in jeopardy. There is the risk of a death spiral as healthy individuals choose to forego insurance due to the cost, while individuals with serious medical needs continue to purchase coverage, further driving up the price of insurance. At their core, HealthShare Ministries are a matter of faith, that other people will pay their shares next month, that an incident won't cost more than $1 million, and the biggest leap of faith, that they'll cover your medical bills. Because unlike insurance, HealthShare Ministries make no guarantees.
You all try to make pretty clear to your members there's no promise to pay.
Correct.
But isn't there sort of a lack of security there for people who are in the HealthShare Ministries?
There may very well be. In fact, that should give an enrolling member pause. It's not a contract of indemnity or an insurance arrangement. It's my freely given dollars to assist another person.
Of course, there's a level of anxiety. You know, you read the stories about how a healthcare crisis can bankrupt a family, especially, you know, we're a small business and we're in it together. So it's a risk I'm willing to take, but I don't pretend it's not a risk.
Many immigrants trying to make a life in the United States have the same goal: becoming a citizen. After all, once you get citizenship, you can never lose it, except when you can. In January, the Department of Justice announced that it had taken away the citizenship of a naturalized American citizen who had been identified by a program called Operation Janus. Janus was a decade-old program designed to find people who had become citizens under assumed identities and refer them to the DOJ for prosecution. In this case, DOJ denaturalized a man named Baljinder Singh. Singh had applied for asylum under a false name after his original application was rejected. And while lying to the government might sound like a good reason to revoke someone's citizenship, the decision to go after Singh represents a shift in U.S. immigration enforcement. For decades, the DOJ publicized the denaturalizations of human rights violators and serious criminals. The Trump administration, by contrast, is taking a broader approach to stripping citizenship. There's a concern that Trump would like to return to the days when the government used denaturalization routinely against people it thought were undesirable. Those included political agitators like Emma Goldman, who'd emigrated to the U.S. from Russia and got in trouble with the government for fomenting protests.
She was an anarchist. She was organizing strikes. Her charisma would lead Americans by dozens and thousands to gather around her. She was frightening the U.S. government, and they didn't want her to remain in the country.
By denaturalizing her, an immigration official wrote at the time, the government could, quote, deprive Emma Goldman of that feeling of security which she now manifests, believing herself to be a citizen of the United States. She'd become an unwelcome visitor in the country she called home. Denaturalization was also used as a tool against other groups. Between 1907 and 1922, for instance, native-born American women who married foreign men lost their citizenship. People who deserted from the army also risked denaturalization. But beginning in the 1940s, a series of Supreme Court rulings made it much harder to take away people's passports. Stripping someone of their citizenship became something that happened only rarely, and often below the radar. Trump seems ready to change all that.
I think Mr. Trump, like what he did for the Muslim ban, he wants to advertise his symbol of toughness in immigration and naturalization policy.
Trump is just getting started. The DOJ says it's going to pursue 1,600 more denaturalization cases like Singh's.
Do possums belong in New Zealand? No. When they came here, they started to eat our birds' eggs and even eat the chicks. Do I normally talk about how we kill things? No. But if any possums, rats, stoats or weasels in New Zealand, are we going to have any of our endemic native birds left? No. So these guys don't belong, do they? So they'll need to go.
Christine Daniel is an environmental studies teacher at Sunny Hills Primary School in Auckland, New Zealand.
Okay, guys, come this way.
For the past year, she's been teaching all 600 of her students, aged 5 to 11, to kill as many rats, possums, and stoats as possible.
And we're going to come and check this tomorrow. If we do find some footprints, then we're going to put out some traps. Okay? We're special in New Zealand, we're isolated, we're far away from everywhere. We have one of the highest numbers of endemic populations of birds in the world. If our kakapo get all killed, or our kiwi, or our kia, or our tui, you're not going to find those anywhere else in the world.
Christine has good reason to worry about the birds. With the exception of a few bat species, there are no terrestrial mammals native to New Zealand. So, for millions of years, flightless birds and reptiles thrived there. But that all changed when humans came along, with rats, possums, and ferret-like animals called stoats in tow. Today, those mammals are responsible for the death of around 25 million of the country's native birds each year. So the kids at Sunny Hills are fighting back by setting traps around the school and making posters.
We're going in here?
Yeah.
Oh my! What are these posters?
So these are wanted posters. It says here that wanted named ferret, crime killing New Zealand's beautiful birds.
Which are the animals that you want to kill the most?
Possibly the stoat, the possum, and all these guys on here. They kill the birds over here.
Some of these children are really young. They might see a stoat. Stoats are actually adorable. How do you teach kids that we need to get rid of these animals here?
You're right. Stoats are adorable. If you look at pictures of possums, they're gorgeous. I'm running a bit of a propaganda campaign and, we can show the fierce pictures because if you think of possums in Australia, they're vegetarians. They can be cute in Australia, but they can't be cute here because they've actually evolved to eat our birds' eggs and chicks. It's a sad irony that I am teaching them a bit about killing soft furry animals, but to preserve our beautiful environment here in New Zealand, we need to win the hearts and minds of the kids.
Christine and her students aren't the sole protectors of New Zealand's native birds. For decades, the Department of Conservation has maintained small pest-free reserves like the Tawharanui Open Sanctuary, where native birds can live in peace. Getting to this point has involved killing quite a few invasive mammals. But that's nothing compared with what the government is attempting to do now. In 2016, New Zealand announced an ambitious initiative called Predator Free 2050, which aims to eradicate every single rat, possum, and stoat from the country in just over 30 years. According to a study from 2015, this would cost the government around $6.5 billion.
So, kind of break this down for me. The plan is to get rid of every single rat, stoat, and possum. How many animals does that actually amount to?
That's too many to count. So we're talking a lot. So estimates are around about somewhere between 30 to 70 million possums in the country, at least 100 million rats in the country.
Right.
In a country of 4.5 million people.
Dan Tompkins is in charge of the science strategy for Predator Free 2050 Limited, the government-created company tasked with making this ambitious plan a reality.
This goal of getting rid of all these predators, has this ever been done before?
Right, so no, it hasn't. So this is a world first.
To be fair, other places in the world have succeeded with smaller eradication projects, like the goats in the Galapagos. But what New Zealand is trying to do at this scale is unprecedented.
If New Zealand were to stop all management of predators right now, what would happen to the birds?
We would most likely use more than 95% of our native bird life.
Do you have the tools that you need to get rid of stoats and rats?
I think most people agree that would be too hard right now. We can do pretty well at getting them down to low enough numbers that benefits the native biodiversity. But if we really wanted to eradicate from large areas, we're going to need something new.
What Tompkins is talking about is genetic targeting and engineering. But New Zealand scientists are nowhere near ready to deploy these tactics. So in the meantime, one company is taking a different approach by fully committing to the Know Your Enemy principle.
All of these were born in the wild, caught in the wild.
Correct.
How many stoats do you have here?
So we have, at the moment, we've got 22.
Tom Agnew is the predator behavior team leader for the nonprofit Zero Invasive Predators, or ZIP. He showed us the testing field where ZIP staff try to get in the heads of their adversaries. What exactly is going on here?
What's going on here? One of the things that ZIP's interested in doing is testing the traditional predator fence height of 1.8 metres, which is a height that's set in New Zealand and other countries for cats. Are we able to reduce that predator fence height so that it's more socially acceptable, but also more economic as well?
So this is kind of the cutting edge of stoat, possum, and rat fencing? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, it's pretty basic and it's really simple, but that's why I love this trial so much.
Besides making a lower fence, ZIP is also developing pest detection tools and an electric cattle grid that zaps intruders. This approach illustrates one of the biggest challenges the country faces. It's going to take a ton of tools to kill hundreds of millions of animals. And even that might not make them a pest-free nation.
For me, it's about, the identity as a New Zealander. I mean, don't get me wrong, these guys are amazing creatures. They're really clever, they're really intelligent, yes, but they are also, ferocious killing machines to us.
Following the Cambridge Analytica revelations, many Facebook users are now considering, oh, someone I went to school with got engaged. Good for them. Facebook users are now considering deleting their Facebook accounts. The hashtag #DeleteFacebook has been all over Twitter because all Facebook users are super considerate and don't want to say these things in front of Facebook's face. Now it's being said that it's the beginning of the end for the site, except that headline is from 2009. It's sure been a long beginning. Oh, friends are interested in or going to an event near me. The thing is, people have been mad at Facebook for years. In 2006, Facebook introduced the newsfeed, upsetting users worried that non-friends could see too much info about them. A Facebook boycott was organised. Zuckerberg defended the newsfeed, saying Facebook is about real connections to actual friends, which is a very good point. And hello, I do want to see the biggest bowl of fur ever. In 2008 and 2009 respectively, Facebook rolled out a redesign and added real-time status updates to compete with Twitter, to which millions formed Facebook groups to protest. Looks like someone's having a baby. Oh. In 2010, Facebook introduced opt-out privacy settings, soon after Zuckerberg had said that privacy is no longer a social norm. Quit Facebook Day was created and 30,000 of the 500 million users took part. And in just about every year since, people have had every reason to continue to looks like someone's at the beach. People have had every reason to want to delete Facebook, whether it's because the FTC found people's private information had been shared or a network of Russian bots were revealed to have been shitposting all over the site. But this time it's different. This time when a friend posts on Facebook that they're quitting Facebook and you inevitably forget to send them your personal email address, know that it's for real. Because Cambridge Analytica sounds like a fancier, loftier moment to quit the company and flee for Instagram, the other site owned by Facebook. But to those of you still on Facebook, don't forget to tag all your friends.
That's Vice News Tonight for Friday, March 23rd.
I am pro Bolton mustache.
With that ugly mustache.
John Bolton and his mustache.
Here's the mustache version of John Bolton.
This guy Bolton, the strange mustache guy. His mustache is more of a man than you will ever be.
That mustache John Bolton's got, I don't know if Trump's gonna go for it.
He said he looked like Captain Kangaroo. Can that be considered a handlebar mustache? Is this a porn stash?
I just hope he doesn't shave the mustache.
Expect, that mustache to start haunting the dreams of Putin.
John Bolton may have a very fuzzy mustache, but he's got extremely sharp elbows.
The question about porn stash is relevant.